Welcome back to another coaching conversation from View from the West podcast, joined now by Jeff Boyer, the head coach of the Byron Tigers, the 3A representative in the north side of the bracket, facing off this week against Tolono Unity. Coach, it's always great to be playing that last week of the season, so congratulations on making it back there, and I'm sure it's a fun but also busy week.
Absolutely. It's a great week. It's a short week. It's a real quick turnaround after you play on Saturday and then you show up, play on Friday again. But there's nothing better than it. You get to get Thanksgiving on Thursday, which is my favorite holiday, and then we get to go and play football on Friday. So it's awesome for these kids, and the experience they have is one they'll never forget.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk a lot about this year and the team you got on the field, but I want to go back a year, talk a little bit about a heartbreaking loss to Montini in the second round. You guys go for two, come up inches short in that one, and you guys have been known to do that. Put your kids in the situation. The kids want to, try to get the job done and take care of it and grab the win. You fell short. What did you learn in that moment, and how has this group grown since then? What have you seen change?
Yeah, I mean it was a heartbreaking loss, but it was certainly to a great football team in Montini Catholic, and I think they showed that the rest of the way. But if you would have told me, when we were game planning for that one, that it would come down to 14-13 in 2-point conversion, I would have gone for it 100 times out of 100 times. And our kids here at Byron feel the same way, and I don't think they regret that decision one bit. Um, we put the ball in one of our best players' hands in Noel, and we came up just 6 inches short and possibly 6 inches away from winning a state title. And, sometimes that's the way it goes. And, we can live with that as long as we're doing everything that we can to be the best football team that we can. And those kids were a great team, great kids. I feel for them. I'm fine, but those kids will never have another chance to do that. And, that's what hurts me.
Yeah. Well, fast forward now to the group you got that came back. What does it mean to you in that moment back then to know they had the confidence and to know now this year they still have that confidence and they're ready to make that statement, with that confident play? It's got to mean something, and it's got to show a lot about the program.
Every year we, after the season finishes, we just kind of look around and we go, how are we going to replace Braden Knoll? How are we going to replace Nolan Brass? How are we going to replace Claunch, who's a 4-year starter at left guard? And it just seems like at Byron here, we're fortunate. We have new kids step up every year, and that's exactly what's happened this year. And so I'm proud of this group. Maybe a little bit of motivation from last year, not making the state finals, and pushing them to do that this year.
Coach, last week, Richmond Burton came in with a dynamic rushing attack, a real big, real physical line. And you guys never really let them get into rhythm outside of maybe the first couple of possessions, and certainly after that fumble recovery in the second quarter. And then it was really the Caden Constantine show. It turned into an offense anyway. What did you like most about your defense, though, last week?
I really liked how they stepped up after that first quarter. I thought the first couple drives, Coach Knoll and Rich and Burton did an excellent job, and great play calling and great execution on their part. They converted several third downs, but quite honestly, they punched us in the mouth at the start of the game. But our defense's response after that, I thought, what was it? It was 37 unanswered points. We were down 10-7, and it ended up 44-10. So for them to pitch a shutout in the second half and play the way they did, that was awesome.
Yeah. Coach, I want to ask you a little bit about Andrew Talbert. You see him making tough runs, not just offensively as a quarterback. He's returning punts. He does that pretty effectively as well. And we've talked about it on our show that he's also a quarterback that I think in a lot of other systems, he could throw the ball around. It's no fluke that he's going to North Carolina to play baseball, but in your system, he really does the job that needs to be done. And obviously that offense is very effective behind him. Talk about him as a leader, as a versatile athlete on the field for you guys.
Yeah, he's one of the best athletes that ever come through Byron High School. And he fits perfectly in our system, but like you said, he can throw the ball. I have confidence in him throwing the ball. He's done that in the past, but he's such a threat with it with his legs too. Great runner, and I think something that you just said uh, has held true throughout the playoffs. That he hasn't had like these big explosive runs, maybe like you saw in the state championship in 23, but he has got some very tough yards in some critical situations for us, especially in that IC Catholic game. And I feel real comfortable putting the ball in his hands and letting him do his thing.
Yeah. Do you ever try to tell him to slide or run out of bounds, or is it just kind of built into him once in a while?
We're gonna have that talk today after he ran that kid over from Richard Burton, but we certainly can't afford to lose him. I do like the mentality and I like the physicality. And I'm okay if he lets loose with this in the fourth quarter here Friday, but I certainly want to make sure that he stays healthy.
Yep.
And Coach, you mentioned that 2023 team, and that was the last time you were here playing it this weekend. Certainly, it capped off with the state championship. For what many to believe, that was one of, if not the greatest offenses in IHSA history. So many records were broken, both it was school, if it was state, or if it was championship game records. It just seemed like every down you had a chance at breaking something. There's a lot of familiar names from that group that are still here and will be playing on Friday. Outside of those familiar names, though, are there any key attributes that, when you look back at that 23 team and this 25 team, that they might share that maybe we don't see all the time?
Well, I mean, all these kids have grown up in our system, so our system really doesn't change a whole lot. We're going to do what we do offensively, and then defensively, we're going to keep the ball in front of us. And it's been a great recipe for us here at Byron. We tweak from year to year, but I'm not sure that our overall philosophy, offensively, defensively, program wise, has changed a whole lot since that 23 season. But yeah, that was a great team. I can't say enough good things about those kids. Uh, they were big, physical, smart, ran hard. I mean, played great defense. You saw it in that state title game. But those guys, they were a pretty stellar team. Took one on the chin the year before when they were juniors. At IC Catholic, they beat us 35-0, and hey, kind of a similar situation is that we got some kids that maybe don't like that taste in their mouth and answer them back here the next year.
Yeah. I want to talk about, you kind of referenced IC Catholic there. We've talked about Montini. What's it mean to you and this coaching staff and this community to know that you've built a program that's ready to go toe to toe with the biggest, the fastest, the best teams in the state of Illinois, really? I mean, when you look around year in and year out, those teams are in there, and you're a team that's in the mix as well, and you're a team that's talked about in the same sentence as them all the time. What's that mean to you guys?
Pretty special. But I can't take all the credit with that. We've had great kids that have played here at Byron, and I've been fortunate that I surround myself with great people here, helping out. The coaches that we have here are the best in the state, and a lot of them are Byron grads. I think there's seven on staff that played at Byron, and I think the other ones, like Brad Miller's a guy that's been coaching here for 40 years, and Eric Yearley, he's a Spring Valley Hall kid, but he came here and did a student teaching at Byron, and coached under Everett Stein. So even though they're not necessarily Byron grads, those guys are very familiar with our system and how we do things at Byron, and believe in the same things that I do.
Of course, we talk a lot about your backs and your position players, but one of the most consistent aspects of Byron football, as long as we've been covering them, as long as I can remember, has been the offensive line. Certainly, you already have the greatest entrance of all time at your home games with those linemen. How much pride is there in that program to be an offensive lineman and to be one of the big bullies up front?
Yeah, I think it's a big deal. And I gotta give Coach Wilmarth some credit. Chad Wilmarth is a Byron grad. He's worked with me for a long time. He's one of my best friends, and Chad was over at GK and did tremendous things over in their program, and had the opportunity to come back home here. He's a Byron grad, and we're happy to have him back. I mean, he had an immediate impact. I mean, his first year back was 21. We won a state title then, and obviously won it in 23, and here we are again. So, like I said, I think I've surrounded myself with great people, and and Chad's one of those guys and works with the offensive line every day.
Yeah. Coach, we've referenced the success here. 5th time in 7 years you've advanced to the final week of the season. And, I think the more and I, Mitch, cover teams and you realize that, yep, like you referenced, there's a lot of talented players and you surround yourself with great coaches. But what I'm always interested in is, what do you attribute to the success maybe off the field? What happens in this program that makes it run, from whether it's game prep or just, the community support? Or take me through in your, 14 years as head coach. What is it that maybe is not happening in front of the highlights and, under the Friday night lights that makes this program work so well?
Yeah, I mean, first, the community support here at Byron is like top notch. Like it's small town football at its finest, and everybody in the town lives for it. But secondly, our program, and I should even say Coach Stein's program, because Everett Stein was here for 37 years. He was my head coach. I had the pleasure to play for him, and I always say that he built the foundation along with Ben Dalton and Brad Miller. And then, we're starting to add on to that and build the house. So, we still do a lot of the same things outside of football as what we did back in 1999. So, just a few things that we do. We really involve family a lot in our program. So, we have a mom's night where the moms and the boys on a Thursday night have dinner together, listen to a speaker. That's a special night. We have a dad's night steak fry, same thing, where we bring in a speaker and the kids and the dad, can sit down and have a steak dinner together. We do a fifth quarter after every home game pretty much. And then we've done a lot with like the community too. We help out with junior tackle practices. We go read over at the grade school. We try to raise money for, any family in need. So, I think all those things that are our community outreach events have been great things for, not only Byron football, but also just the town in general.
Coach, now want to talk a little bit about Friday. Tolono Unity coming in. They're going to present a pretty pass-heavy attack with a 3,000-yard passer who doesn't like to throw interceptions whatsoever. Got a balanced attack with a good running back there too. What does this Tiger defense need to do to prepare for that? I mean, is it a similar game plan that you presented most of the year? I mean, I'm sure playing IC Catholic and having the game plan that shut down their pass attack would help in that. But have you had the chance to look at Tolono Unity much yet, or what do you think about the Rockets coming in?
Yeah, great football team. I've certainly watched some film. I was consumed with a lot of things head coaching wise yesterday, and getting information, the IHSA and stuff like that. But um, you know, they're a great football team, great quarterback, um, phenomenal passer, and like you said, he doesn't throw interceptions. I think he's got maybe 3 or 4 on the
I think
season,
it's three.
which is crazy as much as he's thrown the football. Two receivers that are very electric. So we're certainly going to have to, have our hands full and keep the ball in front of us on Friday. So I know Coach Consign is, he's the best in the state. I have confidence in him, and he's going to figure out a game plan just like he did against, all these other teams that is going to help us to win a football game.
Yeah, talk about Sean Considine. Talk about, knowing his experience at the college level, at the NFL level. What does he bring to the table? And I mean, it's got to be fun once in a while to sit back and kind of watch him work, right? Whether it's breaking down game film and what he sees differently than other people, or on the field coaching coaching athletes.
As a head coach, it is crucial that you have a defensive coordinator that is going to work just as hard as you and put in just as much time as you do. And Sean is that guy. So, he's a grinder. He'll go through every play. He'll draw up every play. It's kind of putting it in the back of his brain, and then he'll figure out exactly how he wants to play that. But I have just, personally, I learned so much from him. You can't replace the experience that he has, playing in college and also playing in the NFL, and the things that he's seen and game plan for. He can bring some of those things to our program to help us get lined up correctly and defend the spread in the pass, you know, very, very well. I know he feels more comfortable with that than maybe he does like last week when we were playing Rich and Burton. So it was more of a a team effort, I guess, on last weekend preparing for them. And then Sean is he like I said, he's one of the best, maybe the best in the state, in my opinion.
Yeah. That's interesting. Is it harder to coach against a system that you know so well? I mean, Richmond Burton does things similar to you. Is it harder to coach against something you're that familiar with, maybe?
Um, you know, there are some questions on, hey, what would you do in this situation, or what would give you problems if you were trying to run inside trap or power, so we were bouncing a lot of ideas off each other last weekend. But as far as, our system, our kids see that stuff day in, day out. It's just when you're playing a team like Richmond Burton and you got to go toe to toe with another team that's going to be physical, you got to make sure you're more physical than what they are. And, you guys saw what happened in the first quarter. I think Richmond Burton won that quarter, and our kids did a good job of stepping up and then becoming the most physical team on the field on Saturday. And that's why we ended up winning that game.
Yeah. So the stage is set. State championship game, Byron versus Tolono Unity. When you're talking big picture IHSA, those are two big time programs in really football rich communities. How much fun is that to know that that's going to be a great atmosphere at Illinois State with two communities that really love and rally around high school football?
It's awesome. You're exactly right. I mean, Tolono Unity, I would imagine they're very similar to Byron. Actually, we were funny story. We had played them in 21, so I know Coach Hamilton now, but we were renovating our stadium here last summer. So as soon as our season was done last year, we drove down to Monticello and Tolono Unity and took a look at what they did with their stadiums, just to get an idea of how we were going to do things. And you could just feel the small town atmosphere, and how special it was down there.
Yeah, yeah. When you're talking teams from the Big Northern Conference or the Illini Prairie, you can't go wrong. Those are going to be some great programs and some great schools. So,
Absolutely.
all right, Coach, Mitch, you got anything else for Coach?
No, I don't think so, Coach. Again, congratulations on a fantastic year. Looking forward to being there on Friday. We'll be on the sidelines and in the press box. So looking forward to seeing you guys on the field, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you after the game.
Yep, that sounds good. And as always, we appreciate the coverage. So you guys are doing a great thing for high school football.
All right, thanks a lot, Coach. Good luck on Friday. All right, that's all we need. We're good. We're wrapped up. All right, thanks, Coach. We'll see you Friday.
Thanks,
we'll
Coach.
be down there. All right, yep.
Too. Thanks.
All right, good deal.